It can be intimidating starting something new for the first time. If you thought about flipping furniture, you might have questions like, what do I do about damage? How do I prevent brush strokes? How do I keep the paint from peeling? So I'm going to show you with what I call the 4 P's of furniture flipping. Hey guys, welcome back. Today's video is extra special because it's sponsored by Countrychicpaint, and if you stick around to the end, I'm going to be doing a little shopping and staging with you. Step number 1 is prep. First, we're going to check out the piece and see what it's made of. I always go to the back of the piece and I see that the sides here are solid wood, the top is particle board, and the top surface is laminate, which is just a print to look like real wood grain over materials that are not. And then we have some more tightly pressed MDF here on the side. If you don't know what the difference between particle board and MDF is, particle board is little wood chips that are tightly pressed, and MDF is medium density fiber board. So those are fibers that are densely pressed, so it's going to be stronger and heavier. And then we see some more solid wood down here. So why I check the materials first is because it will let us know whether we can sand and strip a piece to bare wood or if we can't because it's not real solid wood. Another material you may run into is called veneer. It's real wood, but it's very thin layers, so you have to be really careful when you're sanding to not go through it. If you want a more in-depth tutorial of stripping and sanding wood, then you can go down below in the description, and I have a link for my last video of this project. Time to take off the hardware now so that we can do a nice cleaning of the whole thing. I like to use a degreasing cleaner called TSP Alternative. It's in a container. You pour a little bit into a spray bottle and water it down, and then you're good to go. Make sure you get the inside of the drawers and the inside of the piece as well. We're going to do a scuff sand now. I like to get 220 and just fold it around a sanding sponge. And this is just to get off that shiny sheen on the outside if it has a stain or a poly top coat to give it some more grip. During this step, you're going to notice areas that have damage or dips or repairs that are needed. Right now I'm filling the area that had imprints from the handles, and I'm using DAP plastic wood for those areas to fill it in. This is one of my favorite fillers for small little jobs like that. One thing about every project I've done is there's always something unexpected that happens. So this would definitely go under that category, but it's a good opportunity to show you how to fix it. So you can use glue right out of the container. I like Tight Bond and Gorilla Wood Glue are my favorites. Or you can use these little syringes. You can order a little kit of them on Amazon, and you can put the glue inside there. And then let me just put the top on. Okay. And that way I can get into little teeny spots like this without a huge mess. So you can use a clamp, or if you have really, really strong tape, that can work in a pinch too. I'm gonna go and grab my clamp. I'm also gonna be filling these holes, and that's up to you if you wanna have a different placement, different knobs. This is my favorite wood filler for that. This is really strong. It's also by DAP, like the other runnier kind, but it's a lot tougher. You could also use all-purpose Bondo. That's really great as well. Just put it in there. It's non-shrinking as well, which is really nice because sometimes wood filler can sink down after it's dried, but this doesn't. As you're doing your cleaning and sanding prep, you're going to be seeing all the little areas that need to be fixed. So this is another reason why this step of scuff sanding and cleaning is important, because you'll probably miss a lot of these if you don't do that first. And I make sure when I'm sanding down to keep filling it with my fingers. And the reason I do that is because your eyes might be a little bit deceiving and not see how it's going to really be once the paint is on it. So it's important to feel it with your fingers to see if it's really as smooth as it seems. Now it's time to clean up all the debris. I like to vacuum, and also microfiber rags really grip onto all of those particles to get it off. And now we're ready for our next step, but first I wanted to do a little something extra for this piece to kind of elevate the look a little bit. I'm not going to show this in a big breakdown in this video, but I'll make a short following this video to show you a little bit. And here we are. Now we're ready for the second step, which is prime. Country Chic Paint sent me this beautiful synthetic bristle brush with a nice wide end. It's their oval brush, so you can get a lot of paint in there. And then this is their bonding primer. And what this is going to do is make sure that the paint attaches nice and strong. If you have a piece that has bleeding, which is like wood tannins coming through, you're going to need something that's a stain blocker that has shellac in it. But if you're just wanting the paint to stick, a bonding primer will do the trick. And you can see how smooth the finish is with this brush. And it was really quick and easy to work with. I could tell that the slick areas definitely needed the primer, but the raw wood areas were very absorbent and probably could have done without, like this area that I was going to leave raw, but I put some on anyway. And then as it dried, I could see how very smooth the finish is. And now it's time for our third step, which is paint. It was a tough choice picking out which paint color to go with. There's really a lot of great options, but this is the color I went with, called Sage Advice. And my first impressions of this is it's really thick, really color saturated, really pretty. Here's some other colors they have to offer. So we need to tape off any areas where we don't want the paint to touch, and I always use this frog tape. It's really great for making sure there's a tight contact so there's no drips going through. The coverage is so great, and you can see that the raw wood there, it just sucks it up. There's a little bit of show through on the slick areas, but that's totally fine because we're going to do another layer. The brush is minimizing the strokes. I love synthetic bristle brushes. Even when I'm not using this one, I use others because it's such a smooth finish. Look at one stroke with this, covers up that knot. You could probably just do one coat on the raw wood. It's really great. It's important to do thin layers when you work with this paint. Not only will it dry faster, but it will prevent peeling and chipping later when you don't have such a thick layer. And I'm trying to make sure that I get good contact with all the edges, doing strokes all the way from one side to another so it's not patchy looking, and cleaning up the edges as I go to make sure there's no drips that have gone anywhere. I noticed a couple little spots here where the wood filler was underneath, and I was nervous that those were going to stay, but as it dried, it's totally even and gone. There were some small areas where I needed to use a little painter's brush to get into. I used one of mine, but you can actually get a set of these on their website as well. What I like to do with chalk paint, if it's drying too quickly and causing a little texture, I have a spray mist bottle and I do a little spritz, and it makes it so smooth and so easy again. I'm going to take off my frog tape before our last step, and I was just so impressed how the paint stayed exactly where it was supposed to be, no bleed through at all, and the finish is just really rich and lovely. It's kind of this super matte, full coverage. And now it's time for our last step, which is protect. Country Chic sent me their clear coat, which is in satin finish, and a sponge, which if you've seen my videos, I love using finishing sponges for the clear coat. And so you wet them down and wring them out. And it is so easy to apply with these. I love them. You just make sure you go from one side to the other without any patchiness, and it's just effortless. I love these. Always be sure to clean up the sides because there will be drips here and there, and you don't want those to dry on you. And after it's applied, you can see how super smooth it is. On the other areas where I need to get into those little angles, I'm going to go back to the synthetic bristle brush, and you can tell that this makes a very nice smooth finish as well. There are many different ways to protect your piece. You may be using an oil-based polyurethane, a satin top coat like this. You might be using hemp oil or waxes. They all have varying degrees of protective ability. One thing I will say as a tip, if you're using a water-based top coat like this, it's going to be non-yellowing, so that'll be great to use on light colors this green. On oil-based polyurethanes, those have a tendency to yellow over time, so just be aware that it's best to use on dark colors. While I'm picking out which knobs to use, here's a quick recap of the steps. First is prep, then is prime, then paint, then protect. There are products you can use that may not need all these steps, but these are the general guidelines for making sure that your piece is durable and beautiful for years to come. As promised, a little thrift shopping and staging to end the video. I'm always getting vases. My son's always like, "Mom, you have too many." I don't know why, but I can never have too many flowers, vases, pillows, or shoes. This is the first time I've ever recorded the staging process because it kind of doesn't look very glamorous behind the scenes, and I just live in an apartment, so I don't really have like a nice area exactly. So I buy this vinyl at Home Depot, and I usually pair the furniture with some sort of rug, some sort of flowers, and a picture, and sometimes books. Those usually seem to be something that makes it look a little more upscaled, and I just add stuff here and there, and then I sit back away from it to see what I think and then adjust stuff as I go. But I just wanted to show you guys my process in case it's any help to you when you're staging your own furniture. It helps sell the piece to have it posted in a presentable way because people like to be able to visualize what it could look like in their own home. So let's remember where we first started, and here's the after. Thank you guys so much for watching today. Don't forget to hit that subscribe and the bell to get alerts whenever my videos are posted, and I'll see you next time.